let's see who gets on. Let's see if I can invite people. I don't really know how to do it. Sorry, trying to figure this out. Let's just start inviting people. Okay, we'll see who gets on. Hey guys, I'm gonna try to explain this as fast as I can because I just ate and that means like all my blood went to my stomach and so pretty lightheaded. But I wanted to get on and explain this because I think it's something that people that have dysautonomia, they're always looking for like a reason medically for their symptoms. Like they're like, okay, there's got to be an underlying condition. There has to be something causing me to be this sick. So what other condition do I have on top of dysautonomia or Ehlers-Danlos or like any of them, any of the invisible illnesses or whatever it is, like Chiari, like in my case, like all these different things, and nobody wants to look at mental stuff. They want to, they don't want to go down that road because once you go down that road and you're labeled as like a psych patient, then they think that doctors won't take them seriously. And so it makes me feel really, really bad for all those people because like in my case, I'm like finally able to open up and talk about some of my problems and things that I've been through. So before I like talk about what I went through, I want to explain the connection between dysautonomia and trauma. So, well, I guess I have to do a little bit of background first. So, background. I, like a month ago, within the last few months, I stopped talking to my mom 3 months ago. Like we parted ways, we stopped talking. And that was me stopping talking to her. Because I just felt like it was not a good relationship. And so I quit talking to her. And it was like the hardest thing that I ever had to do because I feel like I lived a lot of my life just trying to make her happy. And over the last 3 months, I got so depressed, like so depressed. And I was scaring the crap out of myself. I was scaring Jordan. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew like, I thought I lost my mind. Like I was like, all right, this is it. I hit 30 and I'm going to have a nervous breakdown and I'm crazy. And I hit this breaking point. Like I went to the hospital and I told them, I need to be admitted to the psych ward here. And I can't be admitted to any of the other mental health facilities around because of my PICC line, because they've all said that they can't take me because of my PICC line. And so I have to be admitted to the hospital ward. There's only one here that can do that. And I talked to them and they had like people come and talk to me. And like every time they'd ask me what was wrong, like I'd start crying and tell them like, I don't want to live. And then I would say like, but wait, I don't want to kill myself either. Like, I that's not what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to live this way anymore. I don't want to be sick anymore. I don't want to be trapped in my house. Like, all these things were just horrible to me. And I thought that was my reason. And so they said, okay, we could admit you, but you're not telling us you're going to go home and kill yourself, which not what I was going to do. They said, you need outpatient treatment, but because you are not able to go to like normal outpatient stuff, like there's not a whole lot of help out there for people that are homebound. Like you can get home nurses, you can get home people to come clean your house, you can get people to deliver your groceries, all that stuff. But when it comes to mental health, there is like not very much or not very many resources for people that need like home therapy. So like if you need home therapy and you're stuck in your house, you're going to pay for it. Like you can pay somebody online and do like, or you can FaceTime people, but it's going to cost you a lot of money. And when you have all of these medical bills to begin with, that's just not an option. So I was like, okay, well, what's the plan then for me? And they said, we are going to send somebody to your house. Like it's not the norm, but we're going to do it. And I said, okay. And they said, we're going to start like in a few days. So I came home from the hospital, and like 2 days later, before I had even started my treatment, I had this moment, and this is like horribly embarrassing to ever admit, but I was on my bathroom floor and I locked myself in there, and I was holding a razor in my arm or my hand, this blade, and I could not stop crying. And I just like kept saying, I want my mom, I want my mom, I want my mom. And I kept thinking, like, I don't really want her. What is it that I felt like? And I didn't want to like cut myself. Like I didn't feel this need to like just slice a little bit. Like that's not what I wanted. I literally wanted to take like a knife and just like carve out this hole in me, because I felt like I was missing something, and I was so depressed, and I just felt like there was something not there that was supposed to be. And I wanted to make there not be something so that my body would match what my mind felt like. And I cried until I couldn't cry anymore. And I came out and I just laid in my bed and I went to sleep. And the next day I woke up and I said, this is it. This is time to figure out what's wrong. And so I started doing some research. And once I get on a research kick, like I'm going to figure out everything there is to know about it. And I'm not saying that this is the cause of all of my medical issues. This is not the complete cause necessarily of why I have dysautonomia or why I have the conditions that I have, but I definitely think that it contributes to it. So in your body, you have your autonomic nervous system, which is exactly what dysautonomia is, dysfunction of your autonomic nervous system. And so there's like three, I don't want to say stages, but like three parts to it. So there's your, like a regular, when you're, okay, there's green light, yellow light, and red light is what I'm going to say. Okay, I can explain this better. Let's say you go to a dinner and you sit down and you're in this room with people like that you don't know, except for like maybe you brought a date or something, and you're sitting down and you like survey the room, and your conscious or subconscious is saying, okay, is this safe? Is this place okay? And you look around and you're like, yeah, everything's okay. Everything's good. Okay, green light. Your nervous system is like, you're good. You're good. We don't need to do anything. Okay, what if you are allergic to something? Okay, and you're in that room. Your autonomic nervous system is going to start revving up, and it's going to say, yellow light, something's not right. Something isn't right here. So that's when you start to get nervous, and you start to get your fight or flight. And when you go into fight or flight mode, your blood will drop to your legs, because it's your body's natural response to try to get you the heck out of wherever you're at. You will start to shake, tremble. Your heart will start to beat really, really fast, because that's your body's way of helping the blood flow to get you out of that situation. And then you will also, like, your digestive tract will completely stop working, because it's not needed in that time. It's not needed for anything, just to get you out of there. So then you go, and your body's like, okay, we got out of that situation. It calms itself down. Things are okay. What if you're in a situation where you can't get out of? That is when your body goes into the red light. It's like a deer in headlights, and it's where your body freezes. It completely stops, and it says, freezing, disconnecting is going to make impact hurt less. It is our body's natural response to freeze in that moment. Play dead. Do whatever you got to do to protect your body, because it will hurt less. And so when you have trauma, okay, there's two different kinds, or three actually. There's normal trauma, like something traumatic happens, like you almost get hit by a car or whatever. Then there's PTSD, which a lot of people are aware of. And then there's something called complex PTSD, and I think a lot of people don't even know what that is. PTSD is like when you are in a situation and like there's an end in sight. So you know, like you're traumatized for a while, but it's your end is like there's going to be an end to it, and so it still traumatized you. Like if you get raped, for example, like you know eventually that person is going to be done and you're going to get out of that situation, and so you can easily get PTSD from that. Then there's complex PTSD. Complex PTSD is where it is for an extremely long period of time and you don't see an end in sight. And a lot of times that happens in childhood, and it's for like kids that have abusive parents or are abused by somebody and don't know what to do and they can't tell anybody, and it just kind of goes through their whole life. And then so when you get to the complex PTSD and you're in fight or flight all the time, okay, like obviously you've got complex PTSD and you are in it for years and years and years, your autonomic nervous system starts misfiring. It just assumes everything that's going to happen is going to be bad and you're screwed. So things that are supposed to like light up in the brain won't when they're supposed to, and then other times when something shouldn't light up, it does. So like for me, sometimes eating something that I know isn't going to make me react. Yeah, sorry, my autonomic nervous system, it's not going to work right. So we're going to make you freak out and we're going to give you all the dysautonomic symptoms. When you look through what the dysautonomic symptoms typically are, it is things like I said, blood pooling, your digestive system not working, which is going to give you acid reflux. It's going to make food sit in your stomach. It's going to make you, a lot of people, like they say with irritable bowel syndrome, you'll get diarrhea, you'll get the shakes, you will get cold, you'll get all kinds of symptoms, like all these different symptoms. And it is your body's that is what your body does to rid itself of all the chemicals that were released, everything. Like you'll throw up, whatever it is when you're in a nervous situation. That's why a lot of people will throw up when they're nervous. It is your body's natural way of ridding itself of the poison that your brain is releasing. And so when it can't do that, it just stays there. And after a while, all those chemicals will mess with your head. There's scientific evidence, and I can't pull it up right here because I'm like obviously doing this live. There's evidence that complex PTSD will actually change your DNA in your brain and your body and everything. And so you're not crazy if you have dysautonomia and you go to look into trauma. Like you're not crazy at all, because it actually can happen. And when people are like, it's all in your head, a lot of it's in my head because I am so screwed up from the trauma. And I didn't think much of it for a really long time. I was just like, yeah, my life has always sucked. It's never been easy, and I'm tough. That's what my dad always said that to me when I was growing up. Anytime something bad would happen, because my dad pretty much raised me. He's not like an emotional guy. He's a Vietnam vet. He just tells me, you got to toughen up. You got to toughen up. So I did. I kept toughening up and toughening up and toughening up until I felt like I was like untouchable. Like, you can't hurt me because you just can't get to me. It's just how it is. I'm tough. I am as tough as they come. And that's how I think, in a good way, it's easier for me to open up to all of you guys and like try to help other people through some of the stuff that I've been through, because I am tough. And if people don't like it, I don't care. That's something that they can deal with. And so when I talk about complex PTSD and me, and I was like, okay, so childhood trauma. And I kept thinking, I'm like, I wasn't traumatized as a child. I didn't have anything traumatizing happen until I was like 10. So what is my trauma? And then I kept thinking, and I kept thinking, and I kept thinking. I was like, religion. And I know a bunch of people are probably going to be like freaking out, like, oh God, she's going to talk about religion. My grandpa's a Baptist minister. My grandma was a teacher at a Baptist academy for like my mom's entire childhood. And me and my cousins and my brother were all like raised really, really close together. And we are definitely like come from a very fundamental Baptist family. And for us, that meant we had to go to every church thing, like everything as a child. Like we went to Awana, we went to church potlucks, we went to Sunday school, church. My aunt played the piano, my mom played the flute, my grandpa was a song leader, my grandma would play the piano or the organ. I mean, like, we were in it to win it. We had to always put on this this front like we were perfect. Like, we weren't allowed to not be perfect. We had to be this example to everybody what perfect people we could be, and like what a great Baptist family was, and great Christians and everything. So that put a lot of pressure on. I mean, I can't speak for my family members or like my cousins or anything, but I know like personally it put a lot of pressure on me growing up, feeling like I was never good enough, because we were raised like as far back as I can remember about like Jonah was swallowed by a whale, Jesus walked on water, all these different things. And then seeing this picture of Jesus on the wall, and he had like these huge nails through his hands, obviously, and a sword in his side, and thorns on his head with blood dripping down because the thorns had been shoved into his head, and he was just left on this cross to die. And then they say like, he died for you. Okay, how am I ever going to be good enough for him? Because for a lot of people that aren't fundamentalist, I feel like when you're just a Christian, you don't put that on your kids. You don't say like, you're never going to be good enough for Jesus, because that's how it is. And I grew up with like being punished for like God sees you all the time. So I'm always like watching my back. Like growing up, I was always like, can't screw up. God's going to see me. What am I supposed to do? And I never felt like I fit in, because a lot of times we were taught like other people's religions were wrong and they were going to go to hell. And that was my trauma, like never feeling good enough. And I remember, like, this is going to sound like, I don't know how this is going to sound, but probably an overshare. When I was a little girl, I would get these like terrible stomach aches. They were awful. And I would be in the bathroom so often that we kept books in there so that I would have something to do. And I would sit there and I would like be in all this pain, and I would pray and I would beg God to forgive me for anything that I could have done that day. I just remember saying like, I'm sorry for doing this. I'm sorry for doing that. Whatever I could, like racking my brain, trying to think of like why God was punishing me. Why was I in so much pain? What did I do? And then when I would finally feel a little bit better, I would be like, okay, God forgave me, and now I'm okay. Like, that's what happened. He granted me my forgiveness. And so that's just how I grew up. And so then, like, as I got a little bit older, I started to rebel a little bit against it. And my dad is Christian Reformed. He's not Baptist, and he didn't go to church very often. And my mom kind of like lightened up about it a little bit as we got older. And then more trauma came. Like, when my mom and dad got divorced, that wasn't like the trauma. The trauma was like when my stepdad came, because my mom went from being like this really good mom to like not giving a crap about me or my brother. And she would like, they ignored us. They completely ignored us. They were like in this bubble, and me and my brother didn't matter anymore. And my stepdad would tell me like I was just part of the package deal, and if he wanted my mom, he had to have us too. And so I would like escape to my my dad's house any chance I could. I like always wanted to go to my dad's. And then like after a while, I kept getting those stomach aches. And and by the way, the stomach aches, it wasn't God. I'm lactose intolerant. I couldn't have milk, and I ate a lot of macaroni and cheese, and like the adults didn't stop me from eating it. So I just suffered for nothing. But so I went through that, and then that was really hard. And because I was like acting out about it, my mom had me diagnosed with ADD, and I promise you I don't have ADD. They put you like in front of that computer and like make you push a space bar every time you see a number, and I like promise you 99% of you will have ADD if you have to take that test. But so I was all right. I just felt like I was really, really alone and unloved by my mom, and still wondering like with God, and not feeling like I fit in with my family because I wasn't like the diehard Christian, and I didn't feel like I could talk to anybody about anything because like we weren't supposed to talk to people outside of the family about like family stuff because that could make them look bad. And so I missed a lot of school my freshman year of high school because of my stomach aches, and by the end of the year I was so far behind that I just quit going. And in order for me to graduate on time, I had to transfer over to the alternative school. And so when I went to the alternative, I met a whole new group of people, and I got into a lot of trouble. I also was cutting myself. I felt so empty all the time with my mom, and like I remember showing her my cut marks, and she just looked at them and she laughed and she said, "You're stupid." And so I showed my dad, and my dad was like, "Why are you cutting yourself?" And so he took me to like a psych ward, and he took a week off of work to drive me back and forth every day because I was doing outpatient. I did it for like a week, and I just kept doing it until I like started drinking all the time. I was like, I don't know, really young. And sorry, zoning out and thinking about it. They released me to my dad, and I quit cutting myself after I did inpatient for like 3 days. I told the shrink that I would stop cutting myself if he released me to my dad and not my mom. And so I did. And then, so fast forward a little bit, and I lost my virginity when I was 14. And I only did it, number one, like it's against the Bible. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to have premarital sex. And I didn't know that I was ready or not. And like, I know a lot of girls have like that pressure. But I did it because my self-esteem was so crappy that a guy said that he would be my boyfriend if I did it. So I did, and he wasn't my boyfriend. And after that, I just felt like it didn't matter anymore. And I met my ex-boyfriend, and I got pregnant when I was 15, and then I was the pregnant 15-year-old girl, and my stepdad like would tell me that he was embarrassed to go out in public with me, and I really wanted him, and like it was the worst thing of my life. I had him at 26 weeks, and my mom had wanted a baby for so long that she took mine. And she'll tell everybody that that's not what happened. And I know, like, I've had so many people ask me where my oldest son is, and I've always been so embarrassed about it because I felt like people would look at me like I must have been this horrible person because I didn't have my son. Hang on, somebody's knocking. What? Yeah, I'll be out in a minute. Sorry, Kenzie. And one day my mom, well, I moved back in with my mom when I was pregnant. She told me that I needed my mom, and she had been trying to get pregnant for like 5 years or something. She had tried to get pregnant. She tried to adopt. It was too expensive, blah, blah, blah. She was like obsessed with having a baby. And so when I got pregnant, she was like, move back in. You need your mom. So I did. And things were like really good between us for a while. Like I was pregnant, and we were going baby shopping, and I got a job, and we decorated a whole nursery. Like my mom gutted a room and like put all new carpet in and all this stuff because she was like so excited, and I thought things were like finally going to be okay. And sorry, this is like really hard to talk about. After I had him, he came home on a monitor because he was, like I said, born at 26 weeks, and he came home so small and everything that He was on the heart monitor that would go off if his heart stopped. If he quit breathing, it would monitor all these different things. And because I was still fighting with my parents all the time and I couldn't take him out of the house because it was the middle of RSV season, I would ask my mom to babysit. Not so I could go party, not so I could go do like anything stupid, just because I needed to get away from my mom and stepdad. I mean, like, he was in the hospital for 73 days and I went there twice a day, every single day, with no license, finding ways to get there because I wanted to see my kid. I wanted to be his mom. I wanted him, and I didn't do anything. I didn't drink. I didn't do anything. I just wanted to be a good mom. And I worked with the nurses there to like learn how to hold a micro preemie, how to give him a bath. I did everything. Like, I don't care that I was 16 when he was born. He was my baby and I wanted him. And so I kept going to my mom's or my dad's house, and then I'd come home and I'd take care of him and stuff. And I remember one time I got into a fight with my mom, and I called my dad and I said, "Can I come over?" He's like, "Yeah, of course, I'll come and get you." I said, "Okay." And at this point, like, I didn't have my license yet, but I had a car. My dad had bought me a car so that I would have it. And he's like, "Just heat up your car." I had my permit. He said, "Just warm up your car, and that way when I get there, we can just put the car seat in there and we'll just take your car." So I said, "Okay." So I heated up my car, and my mom got mad. She's like, "You can't take that baby out of this house. He's going to get sick, blah, blah, blah." I said, "His doctor told me it's not going to be a big deal if I'm just taking him to the car and from the car into a house, and not like full of people. It's just dad." So I took him and I went. And that night I came home and my mom said, "You are really, really tired. And I think that you've been like, you need a break. Why don't you go spend the night at your dad's for a few nights, and you can just come and see Jackson when you want to, but I'll take care of him for a few days and give you a break." I said, "Okay," because like 16, I'm exhausted. I didn't know what I was doing. And so I left. And then she called my dad that night and she said, "Casey," sorry, you can hear Kennedy knocking. "What, Ken?" "She wants you, Jordan." She said that Casey's not allowed to come home, and she can either take the baby or she can leave him here. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know how to work this special or this monitor, and I don't know how to take care of a baby. I'm 16. I needed help, and my dad didn't know what he was doing. And I said, I guess I have to leave him there for a while. And I was just like thinking through RSV season, and then I could come and get my baby and still go and see him and all this stuff and be his mom. And so then, like, my mom told me, "You're being a good mom for that." And so I'm like, great, she's telling me I'm a good mom. Like, she never compliments me on anything. Everything I do is wrong. And so I would go over and see him, and she said, "We have to go to the lawyer's office. We need you to sign temporary guardianship." And I said, "I don't want to sign any papers." And she said, "But we have to." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "We need to sign it because that's the only way that my stepdad's work would put my son on his insurance." And I didn't know about Medicaid. I didn't know about any of that stuff at the time. Like, he didn't need to be on my stepdad's insurance. He could be on Medicaid and he'd have insurance and he'd be fine, but I didn't know that. And so she said, "We're just going to go to the lawyer's office and we're just going to like talk and get the information." And I said, "Okay." So I went and got the information. Or we got there and we were talking about it. And then they hand me this paper. And it's the temporary guardianship paper. And her lawyer was like, "It's not a big deal. If you change your mind, like, you've got 30 days to change your mind. And when you finally want it to be over with, you just go tell the judge, like, okay, I want my guardianship back." And it's done. Like, obviously my mom's lawyer was helping her, not me. But I trusted my mom for God knows why, but I trusted my mom. And so I signed it. And when we got in the car, my mom said, "You better not change your mind because I just paid like $500 or something. I don't remember the exact number. And you better not change your mind." And I was like terrified to piss my mom off because she like has files on everybody and like saves everything. And so that was when my trauma like really started. She would like, I wasn't allowed to post any pictures of him on the internet. I wasn't allowed to call myself mom. My stepdad told me I was a surrogate mom, and my son was raised to call my mom. And I'm Casey. I wasn't allowed to take him without like the permission. I had to go and see him there. I couldn't have a relationship with him. Anytime I would try to have a relationship with him, they would just like find a way to make me feel like I was the worst person on the planet. And so I slowly stopped going over there. And I know that makes me like terrible, but I couldn't handle being in a room with him calling her mom when like I wanted him. I wasn't like on drugs. I wasn't doing anything, right? I wasn't doing anything. I just wanted to be his mom. But my mom wanted a baby, and like, lo and behold, your 15-year-old gets pregnant, right? So that's how it was. I went to court. She told the courts that like I was on drugs and all kinds of crap. And I passed like every drug test. Obviously, I paid for them because I've never been on drugs in my life. She told them that I had all kind of like mental disorders. She said that I had a borderline personality disorder, and I had obsessive compulsive disorder, and like I've never been diagnosed with either of those things. But she had me believing that I had those things because that's what she kept telling me over and over again. Like, you have all these problems. And she told everybody else that too. Like, my family actually, like, I've had people apologize to me when I became an adult because they were like, we didn't know how your mom was. And so I lived with it. And my adult life, I lived with that too. Like, always needing her to tell me what to do, always being afraid to piss her off because then like I couldn't see Jackson or whatever. And so like as a teenager, I had this breaking point after I lost him, and I started dating like a monster, I guess you could probably say. He's actually in prison now for killing somebody, but I dated him and he raped me so many times, and I never stopped him. I never like broke up with him. He just told me that like after he would do it, he would say that I couldn't be upset with him because he was just trying to make love to the woman that he loved. And that's what he would say every time. Like, I can still like hear him say it. And so like when we finally broke up, or not, before we broke up, he would like stand outside my house and tell me like, you need to come outside, and if you don't, I'm going to wake your dad up. Or at one point I didn't do what he said, and he told me he was going to kill my parents, and like, he's crazy, and I believed it, and I just like couldn't get away from it. And so we finally split up, and he went to jail for something, and then he got out, but we weren't together. I didn't see him, and I married my ex-husband, got pregnant with Taylor. And when I got pregnant with Taylor, like, my whole world changed, and I was hellbound and determined that nobody was going to take my child from me. And I did everything myself. I got up with her all night myself. I didn't need anybody's help. Me and my ex-husband were going through a divorce when she was born, and he was in the military. He was in New York. And I didn't even tell him that she was born until she came home, because she was born premature too. And I didn't want him to come and like stir up problems at the hospital for her or his family or anybody else. I just needed to take care of my baby. And I had been staying at my mom's again while I was pregnant because they put me on bed rest. And so like, yeah, even though she did all that stuff to me, I still went crawling back to mommy. And so I would like go see Taylor, and I would like stay there for hours because like I had my license, obviously, and I just wanted to hold my baby. That was all I wanted to do. I would go shopping, and I'd buy her like all these preemie clothes when I wasn't with her, and then like I could go and see her and be with her and just hold my baby. And I loved her. Like, she saved my whole world, and nobody was going to take her from me. And my mom would say things like, since I'm raising Jackson and you're raising Taylor, I'm curious to see which one's going to turn out better. And it's always been competition. It was like, my mom would tell me like, hey, come get on the scale. how much do you weigh? Haha, I weigh 2 pounds less than you. And it was like always a competition. It was always putting me down. And like, I knew deep down that my mom was narcissistic, but I didn't know the extent of how bad it was. And so I, between my mom and like so many more details to that whole thing than like you all want to sit and listen to, losing Jackson, going to court for him twice. Like I could have him come over to my house. Before the last time we went to court a few years ago, he was coming over, he was playing with my kids, like everything was fine. I decided I wanted some rights back to him, filed for my custody back, and we went to court. She told the judge a whole bunch of crap, and then suddenly I needed supervised visitation. So I did it. I said, okay, we'll do supervised visitation. And not just supervised visitation, she made me go downtown. I had to pay every week to see my kid for an hour in this room with a lady staring at us. So, like, a few days before I filed, he was fine to come to my house. And after I filed, suddenly I was unfit. And it's just been that way with her forever. It's always been this, like, sick head game. And so, lately, like, I've been going through a lot because my son is convinced that what she says is the truth. And that's because she lives with him and she pulled him out of school and he's homeschooled, and that's, like, I don't even want to get into it about how rough of shape he's in. But my other kids are doing okay. And then there's been, like, there's trauma with Jordan, and it seems I know a lot of people think on Facebook that things between me and Jordan are, like, really, really good. Like, we're, like, this power couple and stuff. But he has definitely put me through the ringer. And when I say trauma, like, trauma, where I would, like, I don't want to, like, tell his secrets to the world, but it was very, very abusive, and it was very traumatic for me, and I survived it. And sometimes, like, looking back, I don't know how the hell I did it. And I did, probably because my dad told me to toughen up, and I did. And we got through it, and he's not that same person anymore. So the whole point of all of this, back to my, like, crying on the bathroom floor thing. So I realized the reason that I'm having such a hard time right now is because the trauma stopped. I haven't talked to my mom in 3 months. And that is when I started to feel like I didn't know who I was anymore. Like, my mom, honest to God, told me who to vote for in the last election. Because anytime I would be like, well, I think I'm going to vote for blah, blah, blah. No. She would tell me how wrong I am, what an idiot I was, all kinds of things where I was like, oh, okay. She would tell me that I didn't love Jordan, like, for a long, like, the very first time we were together, she told me that I couldn't date him because he was Catholic. And if I would just admit that I wasn't a Christian, then it would be okay for me to date him, because if I'm a Christian, I can't date a Catholic. I married a Catholic. And it's just been this head game for so long. So when she was gone, it was like me being codependent on her. It was like gone. And that's my hole. My hole was where my mom was. My mom was like a part of me in not a healthy way. Like, a lot of people talk about their moms like, oh, my mom's amazing. And my mom was like the worst part of me. And she would tell everybody, like, I'm not sick, it's all in my head, I'm crazy, I just want attention, all these things. And I mean, like, the trauma, like, I could go on all day about severe trauma that I've been through. I've had, like, sexual abuse by adult men when I was younger, when I was a little kid. I mean, not little kid, but, like I said, around 10-ish. And I just don't want to get into all that stuff. But the whole point of this ridiculously long Facebook Live is because I woke up to it. I woke up to why I felt this hole in me, and it was my mom. And all the times where I was like, I need my mom, I need my mom, I want my mom. I don't. And I didn't really want her, because the person that she is makes me feel like shit. I wanted what a mom stands for. I wanted somebody who would come over because I was so sick and be like, hey, watch a movie with me. Or, hey, I'm just checking on you. Like, that's never what I got. I've never been. anytime I'd act like I needed help, I was a victim or I wasn't good enough. When I was pregnant with Carter, when I was pregnant with Kenzie, I was having problems because I didn't know I had Ehlers-Danlos at the time, which is a connective tissue disorder, and it made my cervix open early. So I was trying to keep my kids in, and my house was like trashed. Like, I had Taylor and Carter, and Jordan was at work, and I couldn't keep up with it. I had to like sit all the time. So I begged my mom, I'm like, will you please come over and help me clean? Please, like, I can't do this. She's like, okay. And lesson number one, a narcissist never does anything without another ulterior motive, right? We should all know that. So she came over and she cleaned my house. And I'm like, that is really cool. She helped me. Found out when we went to court, she took pictures of all of my house and made it seem like that's how my house was all the time. So I had to like defend myself, being like, nope, that was when I had my pregnancy issues and I couldn't clean. My house doesn't look like that. So like some random person from the courts came and looked at my house, and of course my house wasn't dirty. And she would tell me things like, if she wants to know something that's going on. And I was like, I don't want to talk about it. Well, if you don't tell me, I'm going to call CPS. I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. There's nothing that I want to talk about right now. And when I want to talk about it with you, I will. She's like, well, you have 20 minutes to tell me. And I didn't tell her in the 20 minutes. She called CPS. CPS was at my door. And it was like over some dumb argument or something that I had with Jordan. And of course it was like found to be unsubstantiated because there was no abuse. There's nothing like going on. My kids are so happy. It's like ridiculous. And so, sorry, I could like rant about my mom all day. I realized, and this is what I want everybody to realize, like wrapping up this live, is that you don't have to be your trauma. My brain right now is missignaling. I have dysautonomia, and a lot of that is probably from my trauma. Not necessarily all of it, because trauma is not going to make me have Chiari. It's not going to make me have Ehlers-Danlos. Those are things that I was born with. But there's a good chance that I wouldn't be as sick as I am had I not gone through the trauma and left it untreated as long as I did. So I am now working through my issues, and as soon as I realized that, guys, like, I feel like I woke up. I just feel like a different person. Like, finally I realized that hole that I felt like was missing, it was because there wasn't somebody telling me what to do all the time, and I got to make my own decisions and be my own person without fear of what somebody was going to do to me or how they were going to punish me. Because you freaking better believe it, if I did something against her wishes, I would be punished, and it wouldn't be like a little like slap on the wrist. It would be like horrible punishment. I've been disowned. Like, she went a year without talking to me one time because she was mad at me for something. We got in like an argument where I tried to like finally stand up for myself. Nope, disowned for a year. And I don't know why, I just like kept wanting my mom, and like I don't know, it's part of being the daughter of a narcissist. And so I read like all the self-help books about it and stuff, and now I'm working on my complex PTSD, and I finally got a therapist that I'm working with. But I realized that like I feel like I get to be reborn now. I get to figure out who I am. I get to make my own decisions. I get to figure out what religion I believe in. Like, I'm not saying I believe in God or that I don't, because honestly at this point in like my recovery, I have no idea what I believe in. It's like brainwashing for so long that like when you finally are free, and that's why I feel like I'm so happy. I finally feel free because nobody can control me anymore. The feelings that I were having was just like this loss of control, because I couldn't control what happened or what I did or decisions because of my mom, and I couldn't control like my health or my what I could eat or anything because of my medical problems, and like everything about me was just, I couldn't make a decision on anything, like where I wanted to go, because I couldn't drive myself anymore because of my illnesses and everything. Like, I'd have to ask Jordan, and like I had no privacy because it's like everywhere I wanted to go, like, Jordan, will you take me here? Jordan, will you take me there? Like, can you do this for me? Like, I just became like, I felt like a piece of crap. I felt so worthless. Like, I didn't have anything. And I think a lot of people with invisible illnesses feel the exact same way. They feel like, if this is life, I don't want to do it. And so I started, I got a coloring book, and I got like a positive affirmation one, like where when you color it, it says good things. So I got a coloring book and my colored pencils, and like when I feel that urge to go in the bathroom and cry on the floor, I will grab a coloring book, or I'll grab my book, or I'll grab my headphones and listen to music. I will do a puzzle. If I feel like trapped in my house, I will redesign something, or I'll rearrange something, because if you're stuck in your house for so long, you need change. Like, it cannot be the same all the time. When every day feels like it is a repeat, you have to make a change. You've got to do something different. Say on Mondays, you're going to do puzzles. On Tuesdays, you're going to color in your coloring book. On Wednesday, you're going to do word searches. On Thursdays, you're going to get up. You mean every day, get up. Put your makeup on. Do your hair. Get up. Change where you're at. Go from your laying in your bed one day to sitting in your living room one day. Like, change the scenery for yourself, because it's just going to eat you alive. And deal with the trauma, because being that sick in and of itself is trauma. It is just traumatic. Being terrified of when you eat, are you going to go into anaphylaxis? Are you going to be at the hospital that night if I try this new medicine that the doctor says is going to help? Is it going to make me feel better, or is it going to try to kill me? Where's my EpiPen? Where's my anxiety medicine? Do I need fluids tonight? Oh, can't forget, like, gotta run my fluids. Or like with my PICC line, did I flush enough times today? I gotta, like, first thing in the morning, flush my PICC line, otherwise I can get a blood clot. And it will make you nuts. It really will make you nuts. So then you're dealing with all this medical stuff, and then whatever trauma you had from your past that's messed with your brain to make you feel like you're not equipped to handle it, because you are. You are so much stronger than you think that you are, and you can do it. You can do the whole thing. So then I was like, all right, I'm getting empowered, right? Nobody can hold me down right now. I'm going to do what I got to do, and I'll survive. So I tracked down like a food therapist, not just like a normal talk therapist, but an actual food therapist, where they are going to work with me on like the whole fear of eating thing, like the trauma from anaphylaxis. And I haven't started that yet, but I figured it out. I researched it. I called them, found the doctor myself. My therapist that I'm working with, I went to the hospital myself. I chose to do that because I knew something wasn't right. Like, you don't have to hide if you're depressed and you have a chronic illness. You don't have to be afraid of people being like you're just crazy, because on that bathroom floor, I thought, they say schizophrenia comes out when you're in your 30s, and I'm like, I just hit 30 and now I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm not. I'm free. And I don't have all those symptoms of like the mental disorders. And I feel like so many of those are so overdiagnosed. And there's also been research that kids with complex PTSD have gone into mental health treatment centers, and they're diagnosed with like oppositional defiant disorder or ADD, when really they're just traumatized kids, and they need to work on the trauma. And there's a different way of healing from complex PTSD compared to regular PTSD. And so while you're looking for a treatment in your dysautonomia, ask yourself, what could have happened to you, or did something happen to you, or do you know of something that happened to you that you didn't deal with that could have caused your brain to misfire, and start working through it. I decided, like, I want my life back. And that is where my, I don't know if you saw on my Facebook, but I have like coming soon, the polka dotted zebra. And I'm not telling people what that is yet, but it's a project that I'm working on. And it's something that I decided to do. And the name comes from when you have chronic illnesses, rare diseases, you're called a zebra. And so like there's a whole world of us zebras out there. And a lot of us feel like really, really just invisible and worthless and unhappy. And so I threw in the polka dotted because, like, I'm a polka dotted zebra. I have all those other issues that I'm dealing with too. I have all my traumas and everything that I went through and I'm still dealing with. And so I am like a zebra with polka dots. You just don't see that. And I am proud of who I am. And so that's where that name came from. maybe a little silly to some people, but that's where the polka dotted zebra came from. So I'll keep posting as it gets closer to me telling you the secret of what the polka dotted zebra is. And it's not like a huge deal. It's not like something earth-shattering or something, but it's something for myself to be proud of and start working my way from the bottom up, out of the hole, and to a much better place. And I hope that anybody that watches this and actually sits through the entire thing will come to the other side and know that you're not by yourself, and rape does happen and it traumatizes you, and childhood abuse happens and it traumatizes you, and any other thing that could traumatize you, it happens, and it can and will cause your brain to misfire and do things that it shouldn't do, and your nervous system will become a wreck. And a lot of times it could just seem like a panic attack, but there's more going on inside your brain, and you shouldn't be afraid to seek out help for that, because it's really, really important that you get that part taken care of, because if you're not mentally okay, the rest is going to follow you. Your whole body is going to fall apart if your mind is not where it's supposed to be. And so I'm telling anybody watching this, if you need to talk to me, message me. Like, I have my phone all the time and I don't mind talking to you. And if you need somebody to just tell your story to, just send it to me, or type it up and keep it on your computer, or print it out, or not tell anybody your secret, but just get it out and like start to heal from it. And distract yourself when you feel like that stuff's coming on. That's really been a huge thing for me, is to just distract myself and take myself out of a situation. And like, I know me dealing with my mom is not something that I wanted to do. So for the 3 months, like, I keep her number blocked on my phone. And then I had like a run-in with her one time, and it was like verbal whiplash and like the most venomous conversation that you can imagine is what happened. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna block you again. And I haven't talked to her since, and I have no intentions of it. And somebody with full-blown narcissistic personality, like, they don't get better unless they really, really, really want to. And when you're narcissistic, you don't think there's anything wrong. She actually has said that she's not the problem, that she doesn't do anything wrong, and that it's everybody else. So anyways, now that I've been like talking for probably like an hour, I'm gonna guess, when I get off of this, look into more issues, what could be causing your symptoms, because it's, hold on, I hear my dog. Harper, stop. My dog's back there like clawing at the chair. Let me see if I can see her back there. You see her way back there? Yep. Sorry, my room's a mess. She's digging for like buried treasure or something. Okay, so anyways, I will talk to you guys later, and I will keep doing updates on different things, because I want to get more in depth, like much shorter, compressed lives about things like this, because I want to help people work through their trauma. And I'm not a therapist, I'm not a shrink, I'm not like trained or anything. I'm just a survivor, and you can be a survivor too. So message me if you need me, okay? Thanks for watching, and I really hope that you guys can get some peace, because that's really, really important, just peace of mind. Okay?